Hello mofos, BJ on Game Day back again for another edition. You got Brent tonight, no Joshy, we've given him the night off. You got Bogan here as well. Bogan, how are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Just had to turn my mic on. Usually have it on mute in the background so you don't hear me vaping and coughing and snorting. So, yeah, just be mindful of that. There'll be a bit of a delay whenever you want me to chime in. But we thought Josh is the more charismatic, outspoken one. So two of us, two Bs should equal a J.
Yeah, definitely, mate. And I think we'll do our best. But as I said, Joshy's got the gift of the gab. He knows how to sell those cars. So I think it comes a bit more natural to him. Look, tonight we will be running through my side, the Newcastle Knights, another team review as we have done. And yeah, first of all, I guess, again, if you haven't jumped in on the BJ on Game Day Supercoach group, get in there, code on your screen 218667. But until then, let's jump in and get into the Newcastle Knights for 2020 and some Supercoach options you might be able to look at.
So here's our team list from NRL.com.
Now, here was a team list. Now, at this point in time, I believe this was possibly a little bit outdated. I reckon this would have been done, a few months ago, possibly. But it'll probably be pretty close. So if we run through there, I think it'll be pretty obvious Kalen Pong will be starting at fullback. The outside backs will be an interesting area for Newcastle that I'll touch on throughout this episode. There's a lot of options for Newcastle in the centre wing positions this season. It's also quite an interesting position Supercoach-wise as well. It looks like this season you're probably going to need some of those 200 to 300k outside backs, depending on how you set your team up. And there's definitely going to be some possible options from the Newey side in 2020. Look, you won't get Phoenix Crossland debuting in round one, as far as I'm aware, due to some injury. The male at the moment will be Kurt Mann, will get the nod ahead of Lino and Watson. But we'll see what happens there. Mitchell Pearce will play the 7. You've got Davey Clemmer and Daniel Safidi starting up front. New sign and Jaden Brayley coming into the side. It looks like he's going to get the nod at hooker. We'll be interested to see how O'Brien actually rotates the hooker position for us, because we actually have a couple of options there as well, with Connor Watson obviously on the bench. And in the back row, we've got Lockie Fitzgibbon, Mitch Barnett, and it looks like the lock will be rounded out by Timmy Glasby. With the bench, again, there's probably a few options, but that indicative side there has got Watson, Matauti, SCSA, and Guerra. I think it'll be pretty close to that. But yes, I guess Supercoach-wise, we'll probably start at the top, Bogan. I'm not sure if we will jump straight into their draw rather than just jump into the actual Supercoach side of things for the people.
Yeah, Joshy just would usually just goes over a few standouts and possibly a few cheapies that people might want to pick up.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess most notably, and probably the obvious one for Supercoach-wise, will be Kalen Ponga. So we've got Kalen Ponga at fullback. He's priced at about 635k. So that fullback position obviously looks like it's going to be quite an interesting one in terms of the variants people might be able to have in their sides in 2020 Supercoach-wise. You've got plenty of good names to pick there, and some interesting prices when you think Tedesco, Turbo, your stalwarts of years gone by. You've got RTS there, you've got Ponga, guys like Pappenhausen, possibly Valentine Holmes. So there's a lot of options there, but KP is definitely one that you for his price, you can't help but considering him. And I think with a couple NRL preseason under his belt now, he should be better off for it. There were times last season where he did go missing. And especially in Origin, that was quite noticeable as well. And then the back end of the year, I definitely noticed it a bit more. I mean, it's easy to be critical, but we do quickly forget he's only a 21-year-old kid. It's his third year of NRL now, full NRL season. You could put it down to that second-year syndrome, but, the kid's a freak. I think he's definitely got to be, if he's not your top two, he can't be too far away in that fullback position somewhere. I do currently have him drafted in there at the moment in one of my fullback positions, and I reckon he'll probably stay there as we sit about a month out from the season kicking off. Probably the next bigger sort of guy that's a good possibility to be in your Supercoach side from the Newey side will be Davey Clemmer. So Big Dave Clemmer, he will start the season at 617k. I cannot recall off the top of my head whether he has retained his duality, his front row, second row dual status. I would imagine he's probably lost it because he didn't play second row at all last season. I should actually check that. He is a points per minute beast, so he averages about the 60-minute mark most weeks, but he averages 1.09 points per minute last season. And if you have a look at his last 8 games to finish off 2019, I don't think he scored less than 60 points. There was some attacking stats in the end of last season, but definitely a good option there, someone that you can rely on, and not afraid to get in and do the heavy lifting and get the good base points that you want out of your forward pack. Definitely a top 5 forward pack option that you could build your core around. The back rowers, I did just want to touch on Lockie Fitzgibbon and Mitch Barnett. So a bit of chalk and cheese at the moment. These boys, generally speaking, last season both played 80 minutes. Lockie Fitz on the left, Mitch Barnett on the right. Big price difference. Barnett finished the season a lot better than Fitzgibbon. Barnett will start the season at 578k, where Fitzgibbon's around that 440k mark. Look, Fitzgibbon was very quiet last year compared to what he was doing in 2018. He crossed the line for quite a few more meat pies in 2018. And yeah, it was pretty quiet last season. I do think they're probably not necessarily guys that are, going to be in your top 15 or so picks. But if you're looking for some sort of pod action, Barnett's more likely to get in and do some of that the base work. But he also the lines that he runs and he's not afraid to hit those holes hard. He actually crosses the line a fair bit, pretty close to the line as well. But I think Barnett's priced a little bit higher, but he's still is very much an option for people this season, assuming he gets the start and will play 80. I guess the only other advantages of Fitzgibbon is that he is going to play out on that left edge, I'd imagine, which is that side that Ponga tends to favour in attack. I think Brayley won't be too Supercoach relevant, unfortunately. With the options I got there with Watson on the bench, I can't see Brayley playing 80 minutes. Unfortunately, he would have probably been a good option. I see him playing probably that 50 to 60 with possibly Watson chiming in at the end of halves, depending on how O'Brien wants to do it. And that'll be the other interesting part with this season is how O'Brien goes. Pretty unknown, hasn't coached the first grade side before, has had a good apprenticeship under Bellamy for a number of years and also spent a season under Trent Robinson. So I'll be really interested to see how the boys go under him. But I think you can put a line through Brayley to begin the season with. Same with Watson. His price is too high. Obviously, it doesn't look like he's going to get that starting 6 spot, but who knows what will happen. From all reports at the moment, it'll be Kurt Mann will get the 6, which is quite interesting. As a Newcastle fan, I probably wouldn't tend to agree with this, but obviously that's why I'm sitting in this chair, and there's people that get paid to play football for a living and coach rugby league teams for a living. We don't get to see what goes on behind closed doors, but from everything I'm reading and hearing, it'll be Kurt Mann that'll get the starting spot in round 1. Interestingly, I mean, it's crazy to even suggest it, but Kurt Mann, Supercoach-wise, he's 287k. He has duality of 5'8" and in the centre wings. So, I mean, if you're really struggling for any decent options in that centre wing, and if he's going to get the starting 6 spot, maybe in some crazy other universe, you might think about picking him in the centre wing position. But I still think with guys like Mason Lino, who would be my preferred starting 6, Phoenix Crossland, once he's fit, from all reports, that kid's all quality, and obviously Watson there as well. It'd only take probably a couple bad games from Mann to see him lose that spot. Mitchell Pearce is probably another option. I think just the fact that he has Kalen Ponga running off him, the short balls he can play to Mitch Barnett on the other side of Fitzgibbon. He's always an option. He's probably not going to be a top 5 halfback pick, but definitely a pod there for Knights at 459k. We'll have the games where he blows up, and he has actually been playing some pretty good footy since he joined us a couple of seasons ago. And I guess the last thing I'll touch on with the Newcastle boys from a Supercoach perspective, and I mentioned it earlier, the outside back position for us. So, the team that is on the screen there from NRL.com, you got Edric Lee and Bradman Best on the wings, Heimel Hunt and Tortel Moga in the centre positions. I'm not entirely sure what they're going to do win those positions. I think The Nines will see some guys put their hand up, and obviously the trials that'll get played. There's still plenty of positions up for grabs in those spots for the Knights. When I talk about a few of the options there for the Knights, all these guys come in from about the 240k price range to, at the highest time will hunt at 385k. You've got Bradman Best, who at this stage looks like he's going to get the spot, whether it's a centre or a wing spot. I'm not entirely sure, but he looks like he's going to be a pretty popular cheapie in most teams in 2020, and I think rightly so. He's a big, explosive young guy. I think he just needs to get a few more games under his belt, get a bit of confidence up, but I can see him crossing for a few pies this season. In terms of options, we've signed Shibasaki. He's priced at 286k, so he was getting some regular football at the Broncos last year, so he's not on that predicted team list there, but I think he's definitely a chance in trial form. Yeah, in trial form, and Nines potentially might see him force his way in. Obviously, you've got Edric Lee, Heimel Hunt, Tautau Moga, and there's another guy I think he's injured at the moment, but there's big raps on him similar to Bradman Best, and that's Stafford Toa. He's priced at 245k, which is actually the same price as Tautau Moga. He's a winger, and he is got plenty of raps on him. I've watched him a couple of times. He did debut at the end of last year, I'm pretty sure, and he looks the goods as well. So I'm not entirely sure what O'Brien will be going with there. I'll be interested to see what these outside back positions look like for us to start round one. I imagine it'll probably be an Edric Lee on the bench. Possibly it will be the 2 to 5 that you see on your screen now, but just be mindful that, potentially depending on what happens, Bradman Best may not get the spot. But just see what happens there. So that is it from a Supercoach perspective. Obviously, run over that pretty quickly. Got into a few of the popular guys. Keep an eye out, obviously, for Team List Tuesday. All will be revealed there, and you'll be able to lock in probably guys like Bradman Best and anyone else you're interested in once you get the real deal locked in. Having a look at the draw for Newcastle, they start off with the Warriors in round 1, Tigers in round 2. Not a terrible first couple of games to start the season. You've also got the Cowboys and the Eagles in the first 6 games there, also with Cronulla and Canberra. So, it could be worse, but it's not terrible. Their run home is not bad. Finishing the season with, in the last 6 rounds there, you got the Tigers, you play the Dogs twice, you play the Warriors. So, Kalen Ponga's definitely one coming out of that origin period that you'll probably, if you don't have in your side, you'll have to consider him depending on form. And, at that point, maybe guys like Bradman Best are, paying fruition and probably worth a lot more than what they're worth now. But not a bad draw for the Knights. Hopefully they can
one
start
thing
well.
to be mindful of, Breno, too, is the Knights have the bye in round 16. So they're going to be out in round 12. But if you do have Knights cheapies and stuff like that hang around your bench, you can keep those and for the run home as well.
Yeah, how good am I going? I think our bye rounds are 12 and 16 this season, if I'm not mistaken. Obviously Origin players will possibly miss that clash with the Rabbits in round 12, which, just thinking about it now, is probably going to be quite fortuitous for Newcastle. That being said, we've still got guys like Ponga and Pearce that are in the mix, Clemmer as well, but the Rabbits will be, have plenty of guys in the mix as well, so we'll see what happens there. Like you said, Bogan, you're probably going to be looking to lock in someone like a Ponga if you don't have him prior to round 16. After round 16, once Origin's over, where they jump onto the Cowboys and Brisbane. We'll wait and see what happens. So, Bogan, I don't know if you've got anything else to add about Newey, mate, or anything you want to comment on that we might not have touched on?
No, Mitchell Pearce, he's probably not going to be most people's choices for a halfback. How would you rate him for draft, though, if you're finding that you're on the later rounds of the draft and looking for a halfback?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Mitch Pearce is one of those guys. He's probably, his reputation sort of precedes him in terms of, everyone knows how poor his Origin record is and everything like that, and he does cop a lot of flack. But Supercoach-wise, he does go through purple patches, and I think Classic-wise, he's a little bit harder to pick because he's not dual and he's not exactly cheap. But he definitely goes through those purple patches, and we saw it in, I think it was 2018, where he polled extremely well for the Dally M, and also last year I think he didn't do too badly either when the Knights had a good run there. But if Newcastle are playing well and scoring points, he's involved in everything, especially in the middle. And with guys, like I said, like Kalen Ponga floating out the back of him, some big outside backs such as possibly Tautau Moga, Bradman Best, even Edric Lee, your back rowers, like I said, Barnett and Fitzgibbon hitting holes. There's plenty of options attack-wise that will be running off Pearce. And he is very involved. He'll take the line on. That's one thing that's really good about him. If you don't get, possibly one of the guys you were hoping to pick up in your draft in the halves position because they were taken, or you left it a little bit late, don't understate Mitchell Pearce as a viable draft option. Absolutely, I think it's a good question and a good point.
All right, well, so that's it for the Knights preview. Joshy giving me shit keep saying review instead of preview.
Potato.
Next up that will be coming up over the next couple of days will be the Penrith Panthers, so stay tuned for that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Make sure you jump on the BJ on GameDay group code as well, 218-667. The numbers are growing. Let's get it even bigger.
Hey guys, Joshy here. Thanks very much for joining us for another episode of BJ on GameDay. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, hit the bell on YouTube for all your notifications. If you do want to follow us on Facebook, you can find us there at BJ on GameDay, and on Twitter we're at BJ on GameDay as well. So guys, we'd really like your support with that. Follow us so we can know you guys are enjoying the content. Thanks very much.